Bacteria in your store-bought yogurt are calibrated to stop working. Not because bacteria have to stop, because a yogurt company that sells you a batch that regenerates itself forever does not sell you a second batch. Today, I'm going to show you how to make unlimited yogurt from 2 ingredients for about 40 cents a batch. And once the starter is running, every single batch after that costs nothing but milk. I have been running the same culture for 7 months, not one container from a store since March. Before we get to the recipe, there is something about that expiry date you need to understand. Because once you see it, you will genuinely not unsee it. A $4 container of yogurt is made from about 35 cents worth of milk. That markup, over 10 to 1, puts yogurt among the highest per ounce spreads in the entire grocery store. Higher than most cereals, higher than bread. The raw material is nearly free. What they are charging you for is the bacteria, specifically 2 strains, Lactobacillus, bulgaricus, and Streptococcus thermophilus. These are the organisms that turn liquid milk into yogurt. They eat the lactose, produce lactic acid, and that acid causes the milk proteins to tangle up and gel. That is the whole mechanism. It is about 8,000 years old. Here is what the commercial version does differently. Industrial dairy operations select these bacterial strains not for longevity, not for probiotic diversity, not for your gut, but for uniform flavor and texture at the exact moment the product hits the shelf. The culture ratios are calibrated, so the bacteria exhaust themselves on a schedule. By day 10, the balance is so disrupted the yogurt turns sour or separates. You throw it out, you buy another one. Every 10 days, reliably, like clockwork. A Bulgarian grandmother with a clay pot from 1960 is not having this problem. Traditional starter cultures, the kind passed down through families, the kind researchers find in fermented foods from the Caucasus and Central Asia, are not calibrated to look good at time of purchase. They are calibrated to survive. The bacteria in an heirloom starter propagate continuously, maintaining their balance, batch after batch, decade after decade in some cases. A spoonful from today's batch starts tomorrow's. That batch starts the next one. On and on. The starter does not expire. The starter is the product. In 1908, a Russian biologist named Elie Mechnikov won the Nobel Prize in part for research linking fermented milk, specifically from Bulgarian villagers eating this exact style of yogurt, to exceptional longevity. He believed live cultures were actively suppressing harmful bacterial activity in the gut. The science has moved on considerably since then, but the core observation has not. Regions with the highest concentrations of centenarians tend to eat a lot of live fermented food, most of it homemade, none of it manufactured to a 10-day shelf life. Anyway, 2 ingredients, here we go. Any milk. Whole milk gives the thickest result, but 2% works perfectly well, and 2 tablespoons of any plain yogurt from the store. Before you put that container back on the shelf, check that the label says live active cultures. That phrases your entire selection criteria. You're buying yogurt cultures exactly once. After this batch, you will never need to buy them again. Step 1, heat the milk to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. You do not actually need a precision thermometer for this part. You are watching for small bubbles forming around the edges of the pot just before a full boil. That is your signal. This step kills any competing bacteria already in the milk that would fight your cultures for dominance. Skip it, and the batch may not set cleanly. Step 2. Let it cool to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. This step does need a thermometer, or at minimum a careful wrist test, warm but not hot. 110 is the activation window. Above 115 and you kill the cultures before they can establish. Below 100 and they sit dormant and do nothing useful. 110 degrees, that number is not approximate. Step 3, stir in your 2 tablespoons of starter. Gently. You're introducing a living colony into a warm environment. Let it get comfortable. Step 4. Hold it at 110 degrees for 8 hours. The simplest method is an oven with only the light on. No temperature setting, just the bulb. The heat from a standard incandescent bulb generates enough ambient warmth to hold in. The range through the full window. An instant pot with a yogurt setting does this automatically. A thick bath towel wrapped tightly around a sealed glass jar on the counter also works. The insulation maintains enough residual heat. Use glass over plastic when you can. Plastic holds odors from previous batches and subtly affects flavor after a few rounds. A mason jar is ideal. At the 8-hour mark, open it. What was milk is now yogurt. If you're not subscribed, hit the button. It is free and it keeps these coming. And if you want access to members-only videos, there's a join button right below this one. Refrigerate for 2 hours to firm it completely. Then, before you eat a single spoonful, take 2 tablespoons out and put them in a small jar. That is your next starter. That is the last time in your life you need to purchase yogurt cultures. Every batch from here on begins with that jar. Now here's the part that genuinely surprised me when I first looked into this. Homemade yogurt contains between 10 and 100 times more live active cultures than commercial store-bought yogurt. Not 10% more, 10 to 100 times. The FDA requires live cultures to be present at time of manufacture. There is no minimum count requirement at time of purchase. By the time that container reaches your refrigerator, it has been in cold storage in transit for days, sometimes weeks. The culture count has dropped significantly. The species diversity has narrowed. What you're eating is a diminished version of what left the factory. Yours is made today. It is at peak culture count at the exact moment you eat it. After your third batch, something in the flavor shifts. A quiet complexity develops. Slightly tangy, rich in a way commercial yogurt genuinely does not taste. What you're noticing is microbial diversity building in the starter. It begins to acquire a signature. Over time it becomes, in a real sense, yours. Not every kitchen's batch tastes the same. That is not a flaw, that is the whole point. Strain it through a cheesecloth or a coffee filter set over a bowl for 2 hours and you have Greek yogurt. Thicker, denser, and with roughly double the protein per serving compared to the unstrained version. The liquid that drains off is whey. Do not throw it out. It is protein-rich, slightly acidic, and works in smoothies, bread dough, soups, and salad dressings. Add a drizzle of honey and half a teaspoon of vanilla to the finished jar, and you have something a specialty grocery sells for $4 in a 6-ounce cup. Your version costs the price of milk in about 30 seconds. 1 gallon of whole milk runs roughly $4. 1 gallon makes 16 cups of yogurt. 16 cups of yogurt in store-bought containers costs somewhere between $16 and $24 depending on brand. A household that eats yogurt regularly spends $200 to $400 annually on it. Your version costs the price of milk, permanently. That math does not change. It compounds in your favor every single week you run a batch. The store version was engineered to be replaced every 10 days, reliably, because that is an excellent business model. 8,000 years of fermentation knowledge, simple enough to run on a weeknight with a mason jar and a kitchen towel, was quietly replaced by an industrial product calibrated to serve the manufacturer's production cycle. 2 tablespoons of starter, 110 degrees, 8 hours, that is the entire unlock. And the spoonful you pull out before eating it is the one that runs the next batch, and the next, and the one after that, indefinitely. Thanks for watching. If this one helped, share it with someone who buys yogurt every week. See you in the next one.